Om Shanti. हम सभी
all of us
शिव बाबा की याद में
in Shiv Baba's remembrance,
जो भी समय व्यतीत करती है
whenever we give time for this,
उस समय का अनुभव तो अति न्यारा है
the experience of this time is quite extraordinary.
क्योंकि परमात्मा का परिचय तो आप सबको मिल गया
Anyway, we have the introduction of the Supreme Soul and of the Soul.
परमात्मा का परिचय भी मिल गया मिला ना सभी को मिला परमात्मा का
You
परिचय
all
मिल गया
have received the introduction, haven't you?
अब है जब किसका परिचय मिलता है
Now, when you are introduced to
तो
someone,
परिचय के आधार से
it is on the basis of that
याद करना
introduction
बहुत सहज होता
that it is easy to remember that person.
है। अगर हमको किसका परिचय नहीं है
But if we don't have the introduction of
उसको
someone,
हमको याद करना मुश्किल होता है
then we can't think about them.
लेकिन अभी परमात्मा का परिचय जब क्लियर मिल गया
But now we have clear information
तो
about the
उसको
Supreme
याद करना
Soul,
बहुत सहज
which makes it very easy to be in remembrance.
क्यों हम परमात्मा को याद करें
Why should we remember the Supreme Soul?
बिना प्राप्ति के तो किसको याद नहीं किया जाता है
No one thinks of anyone unless there is
तो
some
हम
benefit,
परमात्मा को याद क्यों करते हैं
so there is a reason why we have remembrance of the
क्योंकि
Supreme
हमको
Soul.
पता है
We know
कि परमात्मा से
that from the Supreme
हमारा
Soul
संबंध भी है
we have a relationship
और प्राप्तियां भी
and there is benefit.
जहाँ संबंध होता है वहाँ भी याद आती है
When you have a relationship
और
with
जहाँ
someone, you
प्राप्ति
think
होती है
about
वहाँ
them,
भी याद आती है
and you also think about and remember
लेकिन
someone that you
परमात्मा के
receive
साथ
something from.
हमारी दोनों ही बातें
Together with the Supreme Soul, there are two
संबंध की रीति
things.
से देखो
We have to look at him through
तो
relationship.
एक ही परमात्मा है
There's only one Supreme Soul
जिससे
from
हम
whom
सर्व संबंध निभा सकते हैं
we are able to experience the benefits of all
कोई भी
relationships.
ऐसा साकार में आत्मा नहीं है
He's not like a human being,
जिससे हम सर्व संबंध निभा सकें
because there isn't any human being through whom or with whom we can have all benefits of all relationships.
पति है
If someone is our spouse,
पति ही रहेंगे
then the spouse, the husband, will remain the husband, but not a brother.
या कोई और संबंध उससे नहीं होगा
Or any other
चाचा,
relationship.
काका, मामा कई संबंध है
There wouldn't be the relationship of an uncle with a husband.
लेकिन एक परमात्मा
But with the Supreme
निराकार
Soul,
होने के कारण
because of being incorporeal,
और हम आत्मा भी निराकार होने के कारण
and because we souls are also incorporeal,
परमात्मा से जो संबंध आप चाहे वो निभा सकते
we are able to experience the benefit of any relationship we choose.
परमात्मा को ही
Because with the Supreme Soul,
अथॉरिटी कहा जाता है
who is called the Almighty Authority,
परमात्मा के परिचय के बाद अगर हमारा परमात्मा के
after having an introduction to the Supreme Soul, if we have once made a connection with the Supreme Soul, which you have heard about and learned about as meditation, so what is the meaning of meditation?
परमात्मा के साथ
It is
connection
a
कहो,
connection
संबंध कहो जो
or
है।
relationship between the soul and the Supreme Soul.
तो जब परमात्मा के साथ हमारा कनेक्शन हो जाता है,
So once we make the connection with the Supreme Soul,
अर्थात मेडिटेशन का अनुभव हो जाता है,
in other words, we have the experience
तो
of
फिर
meditation,
परमात्मा को याद करने से आपको अनुभव होगा या है
then
हुआ होगा
there is an experience that comes with
कि
the remembrance of the
परमात्मा
Supreme
को
Soul.
याद करने से
And by that
जो
remembrance,
परमात्मा के गुण है,
whatever are the qualities and
जो
virtues of
आप
the
लोगों को
Supreme Soul,
सुनाया भी है,
which have also been explained to
परमात्मा का
you,
पहला गुण है
for example, the first and foremost quality of the
वो
Supreme Soul
सुख का सागर,
is that he is the
शांति
ocean
का
of
सागर है,
happiness and the ocean of
प्रेम का
peace,
सागर है,
the ocean of love,
आनंद का सागर
and the
है,
ocean of bliss.
कल्याणकारी है,
He is the
विश्व का
benefactor
कल्याणकारी।
of the whole world.
तो जो विशेषता जिसमें होती है,
So, whatever are the specialities within
उसको याद
someone,
करने से
when you remember those,
वही बातें हमारे में भी आएंगी।
those qualities come into us
तो जब
also.
हम परमात्मा को याद करते हैं,
So, when we remember the Supreme Soul,
तो आत्मा में
then
सुख का अनुभव,
there is the feeling of happiness within the soul,
क्योंकि दुख का अनुभव जो है ना,
because when there's the
क्यों
experience
सुख
of
का अनुभव
sorrow,
आत्मा को होता है,
which is why we
क्योंकि
want to
दुख
have
का
the
अनुभव
experience
जो
of
होता है
happiness,
ना आत्मा में,
anytime we experience sorrow,
वो होता ही है बॉडी
which
कॉन्शियसनेस के
happens because of body consciousness,
कारण। जब हमारा देह के साथ संबंध है,
when we have a relationship
देह
through the
भान में है,
body on the
मन
basis
को
of the
हमको
body,
रखना ही पड़ेगा जब तक जिंदा है।
because as long as we're alive, we
परंतु
have
उस देह
relationships
के
with
भान
different
में,
bodily
देह
people,
के स्मृति में
but because of the
बॉडी
awareness and the
कॉन्शियसनेस जो
influence of
जब
the
रहती
body,
है,
we come into body
तो सब
consciousness.
दुख का कारण
So
उसी से
all
ही
causes of sorrow are rooted in this, but they get removed when we have the experience of contact with the
एक
Supreme
सेकंड के
Soul.
लिए
For example,
आप
if for 1
अभी-अभी
second, right now,
देह के भान से
you become free
थोड़ा
from
सा
the
ऊंचे उठो,
influence of the body and
देह
just
है हमारा,
raise yourself above
लेकिन
your body.
देह
Of
से
course,
मैं
we all
न्यारी आत्मा,
have bodies, but think about being a
देह
soul who
अलग है,
is
आत्मा अलग है।
distinct and different
तो
from our
आत्मा
human
देह
bodies,
के भान को छोड़ के
which means we have
जब
put
आत्मा
aside
रूप में
the
आप
influence
स्थित
of
हो
the body
जाएंगी,
and we hold ourselves stable in the
तो
stage
आत्मा
of
रूप
being
में
a
आप
soul,
देखो,
then see that form of the soul.
दुख शांति है,
Is there sorrow or peacelessness when
देह
we
का
are in this
भान छूटा
state?
माना
So,
सर्व दुख
leaving the
दूर हुआ।
influence of the body means automatically
दुख मिलता
you
किससे
become
है?
free from feelings of sorrow,
देह के
because
संबंध से
you receive sorrow through bodily relations
और
only,
देह के पदार्थों से।
also from the effect of the body.
अगर देह से हम न्यारे आत्मा रूप में स्थित हो गए,
But if we become stabilized as
देह
a
का
soul,
भान किनारे हो गया,
different from the body and slightly
तो
removed
आत्मा में
from the
क्या रह
body,
गया?
then what is there in the soul?
दुख दूर हो गया,
It means
दुख का
that
कारण
sorrow
का निवारण हो
and
गया।
causes of sorrow are far
तो
from the
दुख के
soul.
बदले क्या आएगा?
And so instead of the feeling of
आएगा।
sorrow, you will have the feeling of
अशांति के
happiness.
बदले क्या आएगा?
Instead of the
शांति
feeling of
आएगी।
peacelessness, you will have the feeling of peace.
जैसे अंधकार अगर हमारा मिट जाता है,
In the same way with
तो अंधकार
darkness,
नहीं होगा तो क्या
if
होगा?
you
रोशनी
remove
आएगी ना।
darkness, it means light has taken
तो
its
जब
place.
हम परमात्मा के परिचय से परमात्मा को याद करते
So
हैं,
once we remember the Supreme Soul on the basis of the introduction of the Supreme Soul, then within the soul, the feeling of happiness, peace, bliss, and love
क्योंकि आजकल जीवन
come.
में
Because in life today, people want these 4 things. We all want happiness, and we all want peace. We do want love, and we do want bliss. So if we have these 4 qualities, then our lives are very pleasant. If even one of these is missing, for example, we don't have love within ourselves or from somebody else, then it reduces our feeling of happiness. If we won't feel bliss, because if there's someone from whom we aren't feeling love, if something's gone wrong in that relationship, then when you think about that person, then the feeling of peace, bliss, and happiness will not be there. This is why all these 4 qualities, which are the original qualities of the Supreme Soul, who is our Father, until we have a connection and remembrance, contact and communion with that one, how can we receive these things? So meditation, you have to think about it rather like a syringe which contains medicine. When you put the needle in, then through that needle, all the medicine is drawn into the body through the syringe. In the same way, when we connect our mind with the Supreme Soul, it's like a needle sticking into that vial of medicine, and it's just brought into ourselves. So we need simply to have the correct connection through the mind. It's just a matter of orienting the mind towards the Supreme Soul, and if we make contact, then automatically the whole of us goes. Wherever a human mind goes, their body automatically follows. If we love someone, our mind may be in London, where we are thinking about someone that we love. Our mind can't go there, our body can't go there in a physical way. But when our mind goes to that person in London, I will feel as if my body is with my mind and we've gone together to London. So in the same way, when the mind is connected with the Supreme Soul, which we call meditation, then that contact of the mind automatically produces an easy experience, whether it's an experience of happiness or of peace or love. It could be any of those if we have a clear relationship and our relationship is in good order. Whatever it is that we desire as an attainment in our life, or whatever is necessary, which is also permanent, that we want from the Supreme Soul, suppose you want 2 hours of peace, and then the rest of the time, whatever, but just 2 hours of peace. Is that okay? Would you be satisfied with that? You will say, well, why can't we have peace the whole time? Why just only for 2 hours? So this is called constant and permanent peace. The other is temporary and perishable peace. So what we can see is that we want permanent attainments, which means that we can only get something permanent and constant from a permanent, constant source. Suppose we want to be safe. So on what basis can we have sorry, not safety, apples. If we want apples, you can't get apples from a mango tree. Neither can you get apples from a mango tree or mangoes from an apple tree. In the same way, if we want to have permanent happiness and peace, we cannot get it from any other source but the Supreme Soul, who is the permanent and constant source of peace and happiness. There are many things in the world, technical things, for entertainment, from which we can get temporary peace and happiness, but it's only for a short period of time. We cannot get permanent happiness and peace from these material sources. Now think about it. We want a permanent attainment. So therefore, to which thing should we be connected? Should it be something temporary? It should be something permanent. That's definitely required. So the only thing which is permanent and eternal is the Supreme Soul. Of course, the soul is permanent, but it keeps leaving one body and getting another. But the Supreme Soul remains in a stable stage of being incorporeal. The soul changes bodies, but the Supreme Soul remains stable. So to have a connection with the Supreme Soul means to draw and have the experience of peace, love, happiness and bliss within the soul. Today you can see there is love, but if the love is on the basis of body consciousness, it means that it is a selfish kind of love, because souls definitely are self-interested, but there is no self-interest within the Supreme Soul. If there is self-interest, it means somebody wants something back for the love that they give. But the Supreme Soul doesn't need anything back. The Supreme Soul is the ocean of love, who is the giver to all, doesn't need anything back for his own self. Therefore, his love is not selfish love. But souls have selfish love. And they do also say that selfish love is there in the heart, but it's rather like glass, which can break if there's any kind of shock. And so the selfish love of people today is fragile like glass, but the love of the Supreme Soul is not at all selfish, nor is it perishable. It is permanent. So if we remember the attainments that we can have from the Supreme Soul, and if we know that this is the source, and we are clear about what we are getting, then we would never forget the love and the remembrance of the Supreme Soul. Because wherever we are experiencing benefit, we can't forget that. Even whilst walking along our way, suppose if I fall down and someone comes along and very lovingly picks me up and asks me how I am, and do I need anything or any bandages, and gives me something, then what will happen in my heart for that person? We will say, I will never forget you in my whole life because of what you have done for me. So there was an attainment, and I received that attainment at the time when it was necessary. And therefore, our heart will say, I can never
तो
forget you.
परमात्मा से तो हमारी सर्व प्राप्ति है,
Now, with the Supreme Soul, we have a permanent
तो वो
attainment.
कैसे भूल सकता है?
So, how can we forget him?
इसीलिए कहते हैं
This is why it is
कि
said,
जब प्राप्तियों की स्मृति रहेगी,
if we
ऐसे ही नहीं
remind
शिव बाबा
ourselves of what
निराकार
our
है,
attainments
ज्योति
are,
स्वरूप है,
it's not just we say, okay, God is incorporeal, lives in the
सब
supreme
उच्चारण
world.
मन में संकल्प नहीं करना है,
That's not useful in
संकल्प से ही
meditation.
पहुंचेंगे,
You do
लेकिन
achieve the connection through thought, but it has to be based on an experience and a
क्यों हम
memory of
परमात्मा
those
को याद करते हैं?
experiences and why we
जिस
remember the
कारण से याद
Supreme
करते हैं,
Soul.
वो प्राप्ति है हमको।
It is because of those reasons that we receive
कई भाई
benefit.
बहनें ऐसे कहते हैं
There are some brothers and
कि हम
sisters who
याद
say
करने चाहते हैं,
that
हम
we're
जब
supposed to remember, we know the information,
लेकिन परमात्मा को
but
याद करने चाहते हैं,
we wish to remember,
लेकिन
but
याद
still
कोई मन लगता
our
नहीं,
mind doesn't go, doesn't connect.
करते
We
हैं,
try, but it doesn't
लेकिन
succeed.
मन फिर भी यहाँ वहाँ
Our mind
दौड़ता है,
wanders here and there and remains in a state of
उसका कारण क्या
confusion.
है?
What would be the reason?
एक छोटी सी गलती हम करते
One small mistake which we make.
हैं और उस गलती के कारण हम
And because of this mistake,
चाहे घंटा आप बैठो,
you
नहीं,
can
10
sit
बजे योग
in
लगाना
to try for
बस
meditation for
मेरे
a
को
whole
पता है वो
hour,
परमात्मा परम
and you
धाम
know that the Supreme Soul is in the supreme abode and
मैं
is
वर्णन
the
करती रहूं मन
ocean
में,
of love and peace and happiness, and you
लेकिन
can
मन
say all
नहीं
these things to
लगता,
yourselves in the mind, but you
कारण
won't make a connection because of a particular
एक छोटी सी
reason.
गलती क्या है?
What is the mistake?
हम कहते हैं परमात्मा हमारा पिता है,
We say, okay, the Supreme Soul is our
किसका
Father,
पिता है?
but Father of who?
क्या शरीर का पिता है
Is it the Father of me, the body?
कि आत्मा का पिता है?
Or is it the Father of me, the soul?
अभी मैं आपसे पूछूंगी, किससे भी, इनसे पूछती हूँ, इनसे
I can
पूछती हूँ,
ask any one of
आपके पिता
you,
का नाम क्या है?
what's the name of your physical
आप अलग
father? And you
बताएंगे,
will all
ये
give
अलग
separate
बताएंगे,
names.
ये क्यों पिता का नाम क्यों अलग-अलग बताया? शरीर
And
का
why
पिता
do you
आपका
all
अलग
give
है,
separate names? It's because each one's has a
लेकिन
physical
आत्मा का
body
पिता
father
एक
that's
है।
separate, but the father of the soul is not
जब
different.
आत्मा का पिता एक है, तो
Because
जब
the
हम
Father of
कहते
the
हैं
soul
हे
is
शिव
one,
बाबा,
we
यानी
say Shiv
गॉड
Baba,
फादर,
or God the Father.
फादर कहा ना उसको,
He's called the Father.
किसका फादर है वो?
Father of who?
आत्मा का है ना,
It's Father of
शरीर
the
का तो
soul,
नहीं है ना।
not Father of the
तो
body.
जिस समय मैं
So
मेडिटेशन
at
में
the
बैठती
time
हूँ,
when we sit in meditation
जिस समय मैं बाबा को, शिव बाबा को याद करनी चाहती
and
हूँ,
wish to
मन
remain in
लगाने चाहती
contact
हूँ
and
परमात्मा
connection
से,
with the Supreme
पहले
Soul,
ये देखो
first we
कि
have
मैं
to see
आत्मा रूप में यानी सोल
whether I am
कॉन्शियसनेस
soul
स्टेट में हूँ।
conscious first. I must bring
आत्मा
myself
का
into
पिता
that
है
soul
ना, वो
conscious
शरीर का तो है
stage
ही नहीं
first
ना।
because this is
मैं
the
शरीर
Father of
भान
I, the
में,
soul.
बॉडी
But if
कॉन्शियस
I
के
am
बाद
in
में
a
कहती हूँ
state of body
ये पिता,
consciousness and
वो पिता
I
है ही नहीं, शरीर
call
आपका
out
सुन
to
करके।
that Father, there won't be contact because
अगर
I'm in a
मैं किसी
body
दूसरे
conscious
को कह दूँ
state.
हे पिता, वो सुनेगा
Or
क्या?
if I say to somebody else's father,
वो
hey father,
आत्मा
he
का
won't
पिता है,
listen
वो शरीर
because
का पिता
that's
नहीं
not
है।
my bodily father.
और
Now,
हम
this is
शरीर
the
भान
father of
से
the soul, but if I
उसको
address
याद
him
करनी
from body
चाहती हूँ।
consciousness and desire
जैसे
to
हम
be in
मिसाल भी देते हैं
contact,
ना, ये
it won't
तार
succeed.
है, तार का रबर आप उतारो नहीं,
The example is
और
of
तार
a
का
wire.
कनेक्शन आप जोड़ने
I
चाहो,
can't connect that wire to
2
another
सेकंड की
wire
बात है,
unless
एक
I
तार का
take
ऐसे
off the
कनेक्शन जोड़ना।
insulation. Otherwise, there
लेकिन
will be
अगर
no
हम
power
गलती करें, रबर नहीं
going
उतारे,
through that wire. If I don't
और
remove the
सारा दिन
insulation,
हम जोड़ने
I
में
can
लग
try
जाए,
as much as I
करंट
want.
आएंगी?
The current will not come through because the insulation is in the
नहीं
way.
आएंगी ना। तो गलती हमारी ये है
So we simply make
कि
one
पहले
mistake,
फाउंडेशन है
that our
कि
first
मैं आत्मा
foundation
हूँ,
of being
soul
in the consciousness of the soul, in the realization and awareness of the soul, and then, second step,
अगर हम
connect to
soul
the Supreme
conscious
Soul.
आत्मा की स्थिति में स्थित नहीं है,
If I'm not in soul
यानी ये देह के
consciousness,
भान का रबर हमने उतारा नहीं,
that means if
यानी
I haven't
पूर्ण,
taken off the insulation of the body,
इसीलिए हमारा मन नहीं लगता।
and this is the reason why the mind won't connect
पहले
with the Supreme Soul.
फाउंडेशन चाहिए, मैं आत्मा,
So the first step, the first foundation is to
आत्मा
know
के
and
रूप
to
में
realize
स्थित
that I
होके
am the soul, and to hold
आप
myself in the stage of
परमात्मा
soul
को याद करो,
consciousness, and
फिर
then
आपका मन
turn
नहीं
my
लगे, ये हो
mind
ही
to
नहीं
the
सकता है।
Supreme Soul.
क्यों?
The mind will immediately make connection,
क्योंकि आप आत्मा का
because
संबंध है किससे?
it is a connection between the soul
आत्मा
and the
एक कोई
Supreme
देहधारी
Soul.
से संबंध नहीं,
The soul
माता
doesn't have
पिता
a
देह के
connection
हैं,
with a
आत्मा के
bodily
नहीं।
relationship.
पदार्थ देह के लिए चाहिए, कोई भी वस्तु,
The
कोई भी
soul
साधन
isn't caught up in
किसके लिए
any
चाहिए?
physical thing.
शरीर के लिए चाहिए ना।
When the soul is looking
लेकिन
at
मैं
physical
आत्मा
things, it's
हूँ,
for the body. But if I say I
आत्मा को तो
am the
कुछ नहीं
soul,
चाहिए, न
then the
संबंध
soul
देह
as
के,
itself
न
doesn't
पदार्थ।
need any
आत्मा
material
का
object
कनेक्शन
or
सारा
any
परमात्मा
people,
से ही
but
है,
only
और
it will
किसी
go
है ही नहीं।
naturally to
तो
the
स्वयं
Supreme
आत्मा
Soul.
को
There
परमात्मा
isn't
की ओर
anywhere
जाने
else it
दें।
will go. And so automatically and necessarily that soul
अगर हम
consciousness brings you to the consciousness of the
कार में
Supreme
जाते हैं,
Soul. Suppose
रास्ता
I'm
ही एक
going
है,
along in the car, the
दूसरा
road is
रास्ता है ही
one,
नहीं।
there isn't another
तो
road,
हमारी बुद्धि या कार हम चलाते हैं, तो एक ही रास्ते पर
so
जाएगी ना,
we will remain on that road
और कहाँ जाने का मार्जिन ही नहीं है
because
ना।
we don't have the opportunity to drive on any other road when
और
we're
अगर
on one
3-4
particular road.
गलियां चौराया आ जाता है,
Suppose we reach a
तो फिर
crossroads,
मार्जिन है, यहाँ जाओ
then we
वहाँ
have an
जाओ।
opportunity to take another road.
तो आत्मा के लिए एक ही परमात्मा से कनेक्शन है।
So the soul only has
पदार्थ
connection with the Supreme
जो भी
Soul when it's
साधन है,
separate from
वो
the
किस
body.
लिए चाहिए हमको?
Any physical object or
सुख
physical
शांति के लिए चाहिए
relationship
ना।
the soul
अच्छा
searches
पैसा चाहिए
for
आज,
benefit from is going to be
तो इसलिए
temporary.
इतनी मेहनत
Suppose
करके
you
पैसा
make
कमाते
effort
हैं।
to earn money,
अगर किससे भी पूछो, आप इतनी मेहनत करती
and
हैं,
you ask somebody, oh, you're making a lot of
क्यों
effort
इतना
to
कमाते
earn a
हो?
lot of money. Why are you earning this
तो
much
क्या के
money?
जवाब देंगे?
What kind of answer will
कहेंगे
you
हम भी
get?
खुश रहें, सुखी रहें,
They'll say, we
हमारा
want a lot
परिवार
of
भी
money
सुखी।
so that we can be happy and
लक्ष्य
so
तो
that
वही
our
हुआ ना
family can be
छोटा।
happy. They want money for material benefit.
इसी रीति से
In the same way,
जो हमारा लक्ष्य है सुख शांति का,
our
वो
aim
परमात्मा से
of
तो और ही
peace
अविनाशी
and
प्राप्त
happiness,
होगा, विनाशी नहीं,
which is
अविनाशी प्राप्त
permanent,
होगा।
can only be fulfilled by connection with the
तो जो
Supreme
प्राप्ति
Soul.
हमको चाहिए वो परमात्मा से होती है।
And that desire that the soul has for peace and happiness can
तो
only be
परमात्मा
fulfilled by
से
the Supreme
प्राप्तियां
Soul.
जो जीवन में चाहिए वो सब हो सकती है।
And so everyone can
इसी
achieve that
रीति से
attainment by
आपको
connection with the Supreme Soul.
सर्वशक्तिवान जो परमात्मा को कहा जाता
In the
है,
same way, God is called the
वर्तमान
Almighty,
समय अगर हम देखें
the
वैल्यूज के हिसाब से,
source of
शक्तियों के
power.
हिसाब से भी,
Today we see God as the
मेजॉरिटी
source of
संतुष्ट जीवन
values
बिताने के लिए
also.
सहन शक्ति चाहिए।
People need to have the power of tolerance
सहन
in order
शक्ति
to
की
have
कमी होने के
a
कारण
good life.
संबंध
If
में,
there is lack of tolerance,
कनेक्शन
then
में
they
थोड़ा
experience
कुछ कमी हो
difficulties
गई
in their
प्राप्ति
relationships
में,
and
तो सहन
connections.
शक्ति न होने के कारण ही दुख और शांति पैदा होती है।
When there are problems in relationships, if you don't
लेकिन वो
have the power
शक्तियां
of
भी कहाँ से
tolerance, then you
प्राप्त होंगी
experience a
आत्मा
lot
को?
of
आज
difficulties.
है
But where
आत्मा
can you
में
get that
शक्ति,
power of tolerance from? Souls don't
आत्मा
have that
चाहती
these
है
days. The soul desires this.
कि मैं खुश रहूं,
The soul wishes to
मैं
remain
सुखी
happy.
रहूं, मैं प्रेम
The
रखूं
soul
सबसे,
wants to be able to love everyone,
लेकिन चाहते
but
हुए भी
even
आत्मा
though they want to,
अनुभूति नहीं कर
they're
सकती है।
not
कारण
able to have
जब
that. And the
चाहे ना
reason
है,
is,
फिर भी क्यों नहीं कर पाती है आत्मा?
even though they
एक
wish,
छोटा सा
they
मिसाल
don't
है
have it.
क्रोध का।
Say, for example, there's anger. All of you are sitting here and I'm asking you this question. Is there any single one of you who in their entire life has never got angry and never had the experience of getting angry? Could you please put your hand up if you've never been angry in your whole life? Is there anyone who's never been angry? Would you put your hands up? Any child of Shiv Baba is like that? Anyone? Looks like nobody put their hands up. So that means you've all had the experience of getting angry. Do you all have the experience of getting angry? A little bit even. Some get very angry, some are slightly irritable, but still you've all had the experience of getting angry. All of you. So now what is this thing called anger? We all talk about it. So it's just a couple of inches long tongue. Human being maybe 5 or 6 feet, and the tongue only 2.5 inches. And the soul is not able to control a 2.5 inches piece of muscle. And that's why there's anger. We say something angrily. Sometimes anger is shown not through the tongue but through the eyes or the facial expression. Your face gets red. That's also an expression of anger. But this 5-6 foot human being, Australians may be 6 feet and Indians may be 5 feet, but the human being is so large, but can't control only this 2.5 inches little tongue. So the soul became so powerless that it's not able to control its own tongue. Where did that loss of power come from? What's the cause? It is because the child of the ocean of happiness, due to anger and lack of the power of tolerance, so the soul is depleted of power and qualities and therefore under the influence of external causes. Now many people say that they're not going to get angry anymore, but then they say, I was angry about some small thing, but now the things that come in front of me are even bigger, and so therefore I got angry. And this is because people do not have any power of self-control. They don't have the power of tolerance. But if you have the power of tolerance, suppose you clap 2 hands, it makes a noise. But if you just wave 1 hand, there's no noise. So sound only comes when 2 hit each other. If 1 hand is moving but the other one isn't, there will be no anger. There will be no sound. There will be quiet. One brother told a good experience that he had in regard to anger. He said that when some provocation comes to make me angry, then you raise your hand. So then what I do is I change the position of my hand to the position of blessings. Instead of one that is in threatening position, I change it to the blessing position. This is his technique that he uses for controlling his anger. Now the soul has to become so powerful as a master almighty authority.
Master सर्वशक्तिवान हो, master almighty authority हो.
You can become the master of that almighty authority. But these vices of anger, greed, and attachment get in the way. But what is there within the soul? You will say, if those things are not in the soul, then where did they come from? So then we have an example about this. Say, for example, water. Everybody's seen water. You all drink water every day. So what is the natural stage of water? It is to be cool. If you warm up water over the fire, then what happens? If there is any fire, then you put it out with water. So the basic quality of water is coolness. But at the same time, if you put that water over fire for a little while and warm it up, and then if that water hits you on the skin, then you will get scalded. The water will have the effect of fire and it will burn your skin. In the same way, we souls, who are the children of the Supreme Soul, are essentially peaceful and happy. But the fire of these 5 vices, which are greed, anger, lust, ego, attachment, because of being in contact with these, the soul becomes influenced and affected, so that the original qualities, like the original quality of water is to be cool and cold, it becomes hot because of contact with the fire and then acts like fire. In the same way, the original qualities of love and peace and happiness of the soul, because of contact with the vices, is influenced and becomes peaceless, sorrowful. And if you ask anyone, their qualities of peacelessness and unhappiness, they will say, now, is it possible to become constantly peaceful and happy? They will feel it's very difficult, even though the original and eternal qualities are peace and happiness. It means that we have forgotten our original qualities to such an extent that we think that it's not possible to experience that. So there's a story about that I'm just remembering. So I just want to share that with you. One time something happened. There was a prince. You'll remember the stories. So this prince got lost. And there were sheep, and he got lost in amongst the sheep. And he became like sheep, and he started walking along on all fours like the sheep did, and started grazing on grass, and started making the same sound as the sheep, because he got influenced by the company of sheep. So the king looked for his child a lot, and he couldn't figure out what happened to him, where he got lost, but he couldn't find him.
तो ये बेरियों के झुंड में एक बच्चा है
So he found that
और
there
वो
was a
ढूंढा उसको तो
lamb,
उसका ही बच्चा था राजा का ही
and
बच्चा था
he was told
तो
about
वो
this, and then he found
बेरियों के झुंड से
his child was
ले
amongst
गया
this
उसको
flock of
अपने
sheep,
महल में
and
महल में
so
ले
that
गया
flock of
तो
sheep
उसको
was brought
खाना
to the
देंगे
palace,
तो वो खाए
and
नहीं
he gave his son some
घास देवे
food,
तो
but he
खावे
didn't want it. He only wanted to
और
eat
खाना देवे
grass,
तो खाना खाए ही नहीं
and he wouldn't eat the royal
अब
food.
उसको बोलने सिखावे
And
तो वो
if he
बेरियों
was
की जो भाषा
told
है ना वो
to
जो भी
eat,
करती
then
हो
he, instead
वो
of
ही बोले
speaking in a human voice, he started baaing like a sheep.
तो राजा को उस बच्चे को सिखाने के लिए
So then the king had
एक
to
विशेष टीचर रखनी
get a
पड़ी
very special teacher to teach
जो
that
उसको ये
prince to
सुनावे
become a human
तो तुम
again,
बेरिया नहीं हो तुम मनुष्य हो
and to
अभी
explain
आपको
to
कोई
him, you're
ऐसी
not a
टीचर
sheep,
मिली
you're a human being. Now, is there
कोई भी
any
बच्चा
such
पैदा होता है
a
उसको ऐसी टीचर
person
देती
like
है क्या तुम
that? Do you
मनुष्य
normally
हो तुम ये हो नहीं तो
find a
ऑटोमेटिकली हो
person who
जाता है
has
ना
to teach a person that they're a human being?
तो
No, it's
ऐसे हमारी भी
automatically
हालत ऐसे
that.
हुई
But we got
हम
into that
आत्मा
same
आत्मा की
condition.
अथॉरिटी के बच्चे
We souls are the children of the
आनंद
Almighty
प्रेम सुख
Authority,
स्वरूप थे
who were the essence of
लेकिन ये
love,
जो
peace,
पांच
and
विकारों की
bliss.
बेरिया है ना
But
ये
the
उसके
sheep
झुंड में पड़
of
गए हम
these five vices, we got caught up in
और
that.
वही बात हम बोलने लगे
And we start acting
इतना
and
बोलते
talking
हैं कि
like
शांति
them.
होना तो असंभव लगता है
So if you start telling somebody to be peaceful, they feel it's
तो इसीलिए
impossible.
हमको शिव बाबा कहता है अभी शिव बाबा ने देखा ये तो समझते नहीं है
Now
शांति के
we
अनुभव को मानते
see
ही नहीं
that
है
people don't
इसलिए
believe
खुद
in
बाबा टीचर
peace.
बन के आया है
So
वो
Shiv Baba
परमात्मा टीचर
himself
बन
has
के
to
आया
come and be the teacher and teach
और
us
हमको
once
शिक्षा
again
दे
to
रहा है
be what we
कि
are
तुम आत्मा हो
originally and essentially. So he
हम भी तो
says, hey
अपने आप को
child,
भूल गए
you
ना
are a soul, you forgot
आत्मा भूल गए
yourself.
शरीर ही समझा मैं
And you
फलाना
thought of yourself as a body
किसी
and
से
you
भी
think I
पूछो
am
आपका
so and
परिचय
so.
क्या है
If you ask a
लंबा चौड़ा
person
सुनाएगा
to
एक कड़ी
introduce
कड़ी पे
themselves,
सुनाएगा
they'll give
आत्मा
you
का
a long
परिचय थोड़ी
detail
सुनाएगा
about their background and so on.
तो ये जो हमारी गलती हो गई है
So
ना
this is the mistake that we
संग
had
के रंग
made,
में आ गई
which is to
है
have got influenced by the
उसको
company of the
सुरक्षित
vices. All we have to do is just change
अभी
that.
मन जो वहां चला गया है
And then the
ना
mind which got
उसको
into all of that
परमात्मा की तरफ लगा
has to now turn its
फिर
direction
परमात्मा
and go
के
into
संग का
the
रंग
company with the Supreme
जो
Soul,
सुख
so that the
शांति आनंद
influence of the
प्रेम हमारे से
company of
खो
love
गया है
and
ना
peace and
वो
happiness, which had all
प्राप्त
disappeared from us, is once again
तो
restored.
प्राप्त तो करना ही है
And
इसीलिए तो आए हैं
definitely we have to receive that. And
और
this is
हमको
why
भी
you have
खुशी
all
है
come here. And we're very happy
कि हमारे भाई बहन
that our brothers and
हमारे
sisters,
पिता परमात्मा पिता जो है
because our
उसका
Supreme Father, the Supreme
जो
Soul,
जन्मसिद्ध अधिकार है वो फिर से प्राप्त करने के लिए आ गए
that the inheritance that you all have a
किसी
right
भी
to,
घर
you've
में कोई
come
बच्चा
here
पैदा
to
होता है
claim it
भाई या
again.
बहन पैदा
So in
होती है
any house, if
तो दुनिया के
a
रीति
person
से
gets
खुशी तो होती है
born,
हमारा
then there
भाई
is
आ
a
गया
great
हमारी बहन आ गई
celebration that our brother and
ऐसे
sister
हम लोगों
has
को भी खुशी
arrived.
होती
In the
है
same way, we
कि
feel this
हमारे
same
भाई
happiness
बहनें
that our brothers and
थोड़े बिछड़ गए
sisters
थे
who had got lost for a little bit
और अभी फिर से आके इकट्ठे हुए हैं
have
इतने भाई
come
बहन
back again, and we're
हमारे
together in a
बिछड़े हुए
gathering.
कोई
All the
बिछड़ी हुई
ones who were
चीज आपको
lost.
मिले कितनी खुशी होती है
You know how happy a person gets when
होती
they
है ना
find something that they had
तो हमारे को
lost.
सोचो आपको देख के
So you
कितनी
can
खुशी होती
imagine how
होगी
happy we are when we see you coming back to the
बिछड़ा हुआ
Supreme
भाई मिल
Soul.
गया बहनें मिल
Our
गई
lost
इतने
brothers
भाई
and
बहनें
sisters have come
वाह
back, so many of them. How
तो
wonderful it is.
इसीलिए अभी ये परमात्मा की संबंध का अनुभव करो.
So now experience this connection and relationship with the Supreme Soul. We are telling you from our own experience.
परमात्मा को अगर आप फ्रेंड बनाने चाहो,
If you want to make God into your friend, He is your friend.
क्योंकि कई बार ऐसा होता है,
Quite
माँ
often,
बाप से बात नहीं करने में आती है
people
दिल
don't
की,
feel like talking to their
लेकिन फ्रेंड से
parents, but
करने
they
में
do feel to talk to their friends.
पिता के संबंध से आपको थोड़ा ऑफिशियल
In
लगे,
the relationship with your father may be a
तो
little
आप
formal,
फ्रेंड रूप में भी
and you
परमात्मा
may
से
feel more close
संबंध
to a
निभा सकते
friend. So you can make God
और
your
ये ऐसा
friend
फ्रेंड
and
है,
develop the relationship
कोई
like
भी
that.
मनुष्य कितना भी
He's
बढ़िया
such a
फ्रेंड हो आपका,
friend, even the best
फिर भी
friend that
उनके
you
मुख
could have
से
in the
आपकी
world,
बात
still
कभी भी निकल सकती है,
it could
लेकिन
happen
ये
that
फ्रेंड
he could
हमारा ऐसा
share the
है
confidences that
जो
you have
आपकी बात
given,
को खत्म
but
भी
the
कर देगा,
Supreme Soul
गिनती भी दे
not only
देगा
will never say
और
anything
कहाँ
of
आउट
yours
नहीं
to
होंगी
anyone,
आपकी.
but will also finish off your problem.
तो ऐसा फ्रेंड
So such a
गॉड को
friend,
फ्रेंड बना दिया
if you make God into your
तो
close,
दिल
close
कितनी खुश
friend,
रहेंगी, जो भी
your
बात आवे,
heart will
क्यों
be so happy
कोई
that
मनुष्य
whatever
को
comes
बात
up,
करने से कोई भी मन में बात आती है ना,
because there
हमने
are
देखा
things you
है,
need to share
कोई
with
भी मन
someone,
में बात आ गई ना, वो जब तक नहीं किसको
and
सुनाओ
until you
ना,
have
वो
shared it
मन
with
में चलती
someone,
रहती है
then
हलचल.
it bothers you inside.
जैसे खाना नहीं हजम होवे ना,
In the same way,
तो जब
if
तक
your
बाहर
food
नहीं
doesn't
निकाल
get
दे ना, उल्टी से निकालो,
digested,
किससे भी निकालो,
if there's something wrong,
अगर
you
नहीं
have to get it
निकलता है ना
out,
बाहर,
and if it
तो
doesn't
अंदर वो
come out, then
परेशानी
it
होती रहती.
causes trouble inside
ऐसे
your
कोई भी बात ऐसी
intestines.
मन में आ
So,
गई
in the
ना,
same way, there are things that happen in your
तो जब
mind that
तक
you
हम
have
बाहर
to
नहीं निकालते
get
हैं
it
ना,
out.
मतलब
And
किसको भी
until
बोल
you
के
can get
खत्म
it
नहीं
out, in other
करते,
words, tell it to someone,
तो अंदर वो
it
व्यर्थ
bothers you
वेस्ट थॉट्स
inside
के
and
रूप में
takes the
चलता
form
रहेगा,
of
चलता रहेगा.
obsessive thinking or
एनर्जी
waste.
भी वेस्ट होती रहती
So it
है,
wastes a lot of
खुशी भी गुम
energy,
हो जाती
takes
है,
away your
और व्यर्थ
happiness,
का तूफान बहुत
and a
फास्ट
lot
होता
of
है,
inner
उसी में
storms
लगे
take
रहते.
place. You get tied up in that.
इसीलिए हमको बाबा कहते हैं,
So this is why
परमात्मा को
God says to
तो
us,
शिव बाबा कहो और बाबा है ही,
you can call him Shiv
साथ है.
Baba or the Supreme Soul, but he is with you.
जिस समय जो भी बात है आपको,
And whenever you have
अगर
something on
शिव
your
बाबा को,
mind,
परमात्मा को
if
फ्रेंड बन
you
करके
have
आप
made
उससे
him
बात
into your
करो,
friend and
आपको
talk
दिल
to him
खाली हो.
about it, he will relieve the weight in your mind and in
पिता
your
के रूप से
heart.
वर्षा लो,
As a
जन्म
father,
सिद्ध
claim
अधिकार
your
हो.
inheritance
फ्रेंड
because
के
it is
रूप
your
से आप
right.
अपनी दिल
As a
हल्की कर
friend,
सकते हैं.
share the things that are on your mind and in your heart.
जो भी संबंध आपको चाहिए, लव
Whatever
चाहिए,
relationship you want, if you want love,
तो आप अपना कंपेनियन बनाओ,
make him into your companion.
कंपनी बनाओ.
Make
परमात्मा को
him
अपनी कंपनी भी बना सकते हैं,
make him into your
कंपेनियन भी
company.
बना सकते हैं.
Make him your companion.
इसका सिर्फ अनुभव करो थोड़ा.
Just develop the
उस
experience
संबंध
of
से आप
it.
परमात्मा को
And on the
संबंध से याद
basis
करो, देखो
of that
आपको
relationship,
उसकी
you
प्राप्ति
remember
होती है
him
या नहीं.
and you experience the benefit from that
क्योंकि सिवाय
relationship.
परमात्मा के सर्व संबंध कोई नहीं निभा सकता,
No one except the Supreme Soul can
और
fulfill all
अविनाशी संबंध
relationships,
कोई भी नहीं निभा सकता.
and no one can have an eternal
इसीलिए
relationship with you. This is why
परमात्मा से अपना संबंध तो निभाना पड़ेगा ना.
you must fulfill the
सब
obligations of your
मन
relationships
का
with the
कनेक्शन
Supreme
लगाना है और
Soul.
कुछ भी नहीं
All
करना
you
है.
have to do is connect your mind with him.
मन को परमात्मा से, मन
When
परमात्मा में लगाओ.
just turn the
मन में
mind to the
परमात्मा
Supreme
की याद
Soul
रखो.
and have the
योग माना ही
remembrance
है
within your
याद,
mind,
मेडिटेशन
because
माना याद,
yoga or
और याद
meditation
करना
means
किसको नहीं आता है.
remembrance, and everybody knows
सारे
how
दिन
to
में कोई ना कोई
remember.
बात तो याद होती है, याद के बिना
All
तो
day
गति
long
रहती
there's
नहीं है.
various forms of memory taking place, so we
अभी
know how
सब
to do
चेंज ये
that.
करना है,
All we have to do is
काम
just
काज
change
करते हुए
it,
भी परमात्मा को
that
याद
while we're
करो, फिर
doing
काम
things with
करो.
our hands, keep our mind
तो उसमें क्या
connected
होगा,
in remembrance
शक्तियाँ
of the
आपको जो
Supreme
मिलेगी
Soul.
परमात्मा परमात्मा से
then we will
आपका
receive
काम भी अच्छा
strength
होगा।
from the Supreme Soul and our activities will be
और
very
परमात्मा
good.
का हम लोगों को तो अनुभव ये है,
We have this experience from God,
तो शिव बाबा हमको कहते हैं
who we call Shiv
तुम
Baba.
कंबाइंड रूप में रहो।
He says,
मैं
be
आत्मा हूँ
in
और परमात्मा
combined
हमारे
form
से
with me.
कंबाइंड,
So the soul and the Supreme
साथ में।
Soul are together with each other as
अगर मैं समझो
companions.
कमजोर हूँ,
Suppose I feel
लेकिन
weak,
मेरे साथ जो है
but
वो
if God is with
शक्तिशाली है,
me and He is the
तो
most
मेरी
powerful one,
कमजोरी को भी तो वो हेल्प देगा
then
ना।
He will help me in my weakness.
कहते हैं परमात्मा हमारा जीवन का साथी है,
You say
तो
God is
साथी
my
मानो साथ
companion
रहने
in
वाला,
life, so companion means with you all the
साथ
time.
निभाने वाला।
And
चलो रहे नहीं निभाए तो सही।
you fulfill the meaning of that relationship.
तो परमात्मा हमारा साथ कंबाइंड है,
And the Supreme Soul is combined with
इतना
us,
नजदीक
so
परमात्मा के हमको
close.
आना है।
We have to get that close to the
हर कदम
Supreme
में
Soul.
परमात्मा मेरा साथी है,
At
कंबाइंड।
every step we take, let Him be with you.
इतना गहरा संबंध
Make the relationship
हमारा
so deep.
किसके साथ है?
With whom?
परमात्मा के साथ।
With God, with the Supreme Soul.
और हर संबंध का आप अनुभव कर सकते हो।
And you can experience the
हर
benefits
संबंध
of
का।
all relationships.
लेकिन
But
पहले मन लगेगा,
first, the
तभी।
mind must connect. Then all of this
मेडिटेशन में जितना
happens.
जितना आप अनुभव करते
So,
जाएंगे
as much
गहरा,
as you
वैसे
have
आपको
deep
ये सभी
relationships
अनुभव
of meditation, so much you will accumulate all these
क्योंकि
experiences.
वैसे ही नहीं कहते हैं हम सबका अनुभव है।
I'm not just
तो
speaking
अगर
just like
हम
that,
लोगों
but
को
this is
अनुभव
my
हो सकता है तो
experience,
आपको
my
क्यों नहीं हो
feeling.
सकता है?
And so, if we
आप
can
भी तो
have this
परमात्मा के
experience, then
अधिकारी
you
हो।
can too, because you have as much right
हर एक
as
का
we
हक
do.
है,
Everyone has the right.
तो अपना हक क्यों नहीं लेंगे?
So, why not claim your rights?
तो परमात्मा से सर्व संबंधों का अनुभव करो और सर्व
So,
शक्तियाँ, जो भी
experience
शक्ति
all
चाहिए आपको।
relationships and all the
आज
different
बिजनेस
forms
है,
of
कारोबार
power.
में है,
Suppose
उसमें
you're
निर्णय
doing
शक्ति चाहिए।
business, then you need good power of
सिर्फ हाँ ना
discrimination.
का होता है।
You just have to be able to
अगर
say
हाँ के
yes
बजाय
or
ना
no.
किया,
If you say no instead of
नुकसान।
yes, then you go
हाँ
into
के
loss.
बजाय
If you say
ना
yes
के बजाय
instead of
हाँ किया
no
तो भी
instead of
नुकसान।
yes, then
लेकिन
also
हाँ
there
में
is
हाँ
loss.
आपकी निर्णय शक्ति इतनी
So you have to
क्लियर
say
हो
yes when it has to
जो
be
जो
yes,
हाँ करना है
because
उसमें हाँ ही
your
आवे,
power of
जो ना करना है
discrimination has
उसमें
to
ना
be
आवे,
so
तो
clear that
जीवन
you know when
में
to say
नुकसान हो ही
yes
नहीं
and when
सकता।
to say no so that you remain in profit.
तो निर्णय शक्ति भी बहुत बढ़ती है,
So your power of discrimination grows
जिससे
a
निर्णय
lot.
शक्ति के कमी के कारण ही
If a
ये दुख
person has
शांति
lack
के
of
कारण है।
discrimination, then they experience a lot of sorrow because they
सहन
do the
शक्ति
wrong
है,
thing.
निर्णय शक्ति है,
So you need the power of tolerance too.
जो भी शक्तियाँ है,
Whatever power is
जो
required,
शक्ति आपको चाहिए, सर्वशक्तिवान परमात्मा,
because the Supreme Soul is
जो
the source
शक्ति
of
आपको
all
जिस समय
powers.
चाहिए,
So at the
उस
time
समय
when you need any
सर्वशक्तिवान
particular
परमात्मा
power,
को याद करो, वो
remember
शक्ति
the
आप में
Supreme
है।
Soul, that power comes into you right
आपको
then.
अनुभव होगा, मानो
And you will
आप कोई
experience.
दुश्मन को जिसे खिटखिट है,
Suppose
उसको
you
याद
have a
करते हो,
problem with
आपने
somebody who's
फौरन
your
ही
enemy. If you
ईर्ष्या
remember him, then immediately
या वैर
feelings of
दृष्टि
hatred
आती है
or
ना, उसी समय
jealousy
ही।
comes at the moment when you remember him.
और अच्छे फ्रेंड को याद करते
But
हो,
then if you remember
उसी
a
समय ही
friend,
आपके
at that
मन में
moment,
क्या होता है?
what comes
प्रेम
into your
वाले को याद
mind?
करने से
Feelings
बड़ा
of
मजा
love,
आता है ना,
you
उसको याद
enjoy,
करने में
you feel
सुख
happy at
मिलता
the
है ना।
thought of them.
अगर परमात्मा को हम याद करेंगे
And if you remember the Supreme Soul,
तो वो सर्वशक्तिवान है, तो
and
उसके
He
याद से
is
क्या
the
मिलेंगे?
source of all power, then what will you receive by that
सर्वशक्ति
remembrance?
मिलेंगी।
You will receive all the powers.
तो ऐसा अनुभव करते रहेंगे
So
और यहाँ
continue
आए
to
हैं
experience
तो बिना
that.
अनुभव नहीं
So
जाना
you have
भाई,
come here, so don't leave this place
अनुभव जरूर
without
करते
making
जाना,
yourself really
क्योंकि आए हैं
experienced in
बाबा
all
के
of
घर
this.
में,
You have come to
तो
the
बस
house
अपना
of the
जन्म सिद्ध
Father.
अधिकार तो लेके
So
जाएंगे या नहीं छोड़
definitely
के जाएंगे हमारे
don't
लिए,
leave until you
है?
have claimed your
लेके जाएंगे ना, हम
inheritance and
खुश हैं।
take that right with you.
आप ऐसा नहीं भाई हमारा कोई कम हो जाएगा अधिकार आप ले जाएंगे तो
So
नहीं,
don't
जितना
just
भी लेना
see
हो
if
आप
other
लो,
people can take it
हम
and
खुशी
not
से
you,
कहते हैं
but I'm telling you with great
कि आप
happiness
अनुभव की झोली भर के जाना,
to
खाली नहीं
fill
जाना।
up your pockets with experiences
आए
and
हो
go with your
इतना,
pockets full.
कमाल तो आपकी है, ऐसे
It is
वायुमंडल में आप पहुंच
marvelous
गए
that
हो,
you have
बड़े
come
भाग्य
here
महसूस
even
कर रहे
though
हो।
the situation of the world is such. So it means
तो
that you're
अपना
very
हक
valuable and
बाबा से
loved.
ये सर्व
So
शक्तियों
take
का
the
सर्व समर्थ का
experience of all
अधिकार जो है,
relationships,
ये
claim
अपना
that
जन्म सिद्ध अधिकार
this
जरूर
is your
बाबा से
right.
लेके ही जाइए।
So go with
बाकी
all
हम
of
लोग आपके
these.
सहयोगी है, कोई
We
भी
are
बात
here to
ऐसी
help
हो
you,
तो
and
उस
so you
एक एक
can
का
talk to
सहयोगी से
us.
क्लियर कर
You can
सकते हैं,
ask us about
लेकिन
anything,
लेके जरूर जाना।
but definitely make sure
ठीक है
that
ना?
you take a lot with
अच्छा,
you.
ओम शांति।
Thank you very much. Om Shanti.